Welcome everyone, and thank you for coming out this afternoon. A little easier to come out today than it was last night, right? How many of you were traveling last night dealing with Denver roads or I-70? Wow, I'm glad you're here today, safe and sound. Got a little iffy last night, didn't it? Kind of sketchy. I want to tell you a little bit about Imagine That in a second, but before we do that, I'd like to hear about you. So let's kind of go around the room and give us your name and a one-sentence description of your business. And because Haley is such a wonderful person, we're going to start with her.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, so this okay. Okay. Yes, it looks like we're reconnecting now, okay?
Okay, we are. Turn around everybody and wave to Glenwood. Hey!
Okay, thank you. Our help desk number is 843.
We'll let them come on. Go ahead,
My
Haley.
name's Haley. I work for Summit Express. We're a shuttle company, and we transport travelers from Denver Airport up to Summit County so they can utilize all the other businesses in this area.
Okay. Okay, very good. Right next, we'll just go right down the line.
My name is David Singleton. I run a company called Summit Movement Center in Frisco. I do a movement education therapy that uses the movement as a way to remap your brain.
Okay. Cool.
My name is Samara, and I own a massage therapy company at the base of Copper Mountain. We provide massage services to keep people moving in Summit County.
Wonderful.
Colorado's a playground.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Joy Klein, I work for the Housing Authority in Breckenridge.
Okay. Our two friends in the back.
Jana Wolfson, I'm a counselor with Colorado Division of Vocational Rehabilitation, and I also serve self-employment.
Okay. Okay. Well done.
I'm Sarah. I work for St. Anthony's Hospital, and I also work with Timberline Adult Day Services.
Timberline what?
Adult Day Services.
Okay. Sure.
Sorry.
That's all right.
For just a minute, Jeff.
Yeah.
Folks in Glenwood, if I could ask you to mute, and then we'll come back to you guys. We need to make sure that we get around here so that everybody can hear.
They can't hear us because
Yeah.
it's muted.
Oh, you muted?
We can see them, we can't hear them, and I don't think, you can't hear us, can you?
Yes,
Yeah,
we can.
Oh, they can hear us. You can't hear us?
Yes.
Okay, they can hear us. You unmute your mic, please, so perhaps we can hear you, but we still have to reconnect.
Go ahead. How do we unmute the mic here?
You want to mute your mic, please? Hello?
We're working on it.
Okay, you can hear, we can't hear you.
Now they should have.
Now can you hear us?
Okay, now you, okay, yeah, but we still have to reconnect on our screen here. Okay, thank you so much.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you. We're going to be just quickly disconnected, then reconnected so that we have this icon go away from.
Okay, we got you. Quick, hurry, fast, around the room. So, yes, oh, and you are, and what do you do?
Chelsea Ryback, I'm the Warren Station event coordinator, working for Keystone Neighborhood Company. Doing
Okay. Okay, we're doing introductions here locally right now, Glenwood. So getting a sense of who's here to attend so we make sure we can customize our presentation to fit the needs of our audience here today. And I know you. Hi, Alyssa.
Alyssa Daly, I'm the events coordinator at Keystone Neighborhood Company. So we do festival and events inside River Run Village.
Wonderful.
Lisa Yacano, I have Dining Redefined. I do private dinner parties at home.
Okay.
Susan Wentworth, I own the Frisco Lodge, Bed and Breakfast, and the Frisco and on Building and Bed and Breakfast.
Okay. Very good.
I'm Acacia Pike Nelson. I actually work here at Colorado Mountain College in Dillon, and I'm part of the Summit Campus marketing team.
Okay.
I'm Sherry Wyman, and I work at CMC Dillon, and I'm part of the marketing. So not marketing.
Okay. Graham?
Graham Johnston. I have snow business. I do souvenirs, wholesale souvenirs around the county.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Now when we were talking, I'm starting to think, I don't think I've seen your store anywhere, but now it makes sense. You provide, okay, very good.
Miyuki Takeda, and I work for the Breckenridge Distillery. Head of their marketing department.
Okay. So we have predominantly business to consumer businesses here today, B2C. How many of you consider yourself in the business to business genre, primarily? The Graham would certainly, and how about kind of a mix? We deal with businesses and we deal with end consumers. Okay, so this is going to be really relevant to us then, because social media applies to these different arenas in different ways, right? And so we'll take a look at that in a little bit. I want to introduce you to us now. My name is Jeff McElhatton. Jeff will work fine. Took me 8 years to learn to say the last name. And my friend Tom, he and I own Imagine That. And then with us is one of our digital strategists, Barry, in the back there. And we started Imagine That in 2008, the week the economy tanked. And it was one of those scratch your head. It's like, is this really a smart thing to be doing? But we've done, Imagine That has done extremely well up here, especially in the mountain regions of central Colorado, because this is our niche. We understand the challenges that go with marketing in this kind of environment that's, the success of our businesses depends on our snowfall very often, right? And that's why we're glad that there's 30 inches predicted in the next 3 days. That's going to mean lots of wonderful skiing and riding, but also it's going to bring our market back to us, right? So we offer, Imagine That offers the whole gamut of online marketing, web development, digital strategies, which include social media, SEO, brand development, brand awareness, campaigns, the whole 9 yards. And so, like I said, we started this 2008. It was myself and Tom. We had a business partner. We've grown to where we have 7 people on our payroll now. 7 on the payroll. 3 of them full time, and we're getting ready to add potentially a 4th full-timer at the end of next month. So it's been really, really good to be doing marketing in our area. So let's, as we get ready to go into this topic of social media and making social media part of a marketing plan, let's just kind of do a real quick survey and see how many of you use Facebook, for example, on a regular basis for your business. It's something that you're on regularly. How about back in Glenwood? Anybody raising hands back there? No? How about Twitter? Twitter, okay. YouTube. LinkedIn, okay. LinkedIn. Any of the major social medias that we have not specifically mentioned? Those are kind of the big 4. But what other social medium is anybody leveraging in here that isn't one among those? Instagram, right? Pinterest, anybody doing Pinterest? Okay. Cool. How long has social media been around?
10 years.
About 50 years.
Oh.
Huh? Yeah. So let's take a look at some of the big miscalls over the last 50 years when it comes to marketing on the part of the marketing experts. We want to take the experts off the pedestal today. That would include us, and just kind of look at some of the miscalls that have happened. For example, in 1966, Time magazine said, "Remote shopping, while entirely feasible, will flop." With retail sales topping $605 billion in 2013, I think Time magazine missed this one, right? Then, Digital Electronics Corporation. Anybody remember the DEC mainframe computers? I learned on one of those things in the early 1980s. And their president, then Ken Olsen, in 1977, said this: "There is no reason anyone would want a computer in their home." While he said that, there were 2 young dropout college students in Cupertino, California that had just launched a new business called Apple. Right? Boy, did he miss it. Another missed call. Even innovators sometimes miss the impact of their own technologies and their own inventions. Marty Cooper, who invented the cell phone, said this: "Cellular phones will absolutely not replace local wire systems." Anyone else in here besides me not have a landline? Right. We don't have a landline at home. My wife has a cell phone, my daughter has a cell phone, and I have a cell phone. We don't use wired phones anymore. How about this one? Robert Metcalfe. This is kind of interesting. In 1995, he predicted the total and catastrophic collapse of the internet. What happened? In 1996, the internet grew, oceanic cable was being laid, satellites were being deployed, and 6 continents were linked together to form this massive global communications system. That crazy times. Everybody remember the pre-2000 .com burst before that happened? Just the insatiable appetite people had for all this these telecommunications technologies, and it was crazy during those late 90s. Here's another missed call. There is no chance the iPhone is going to get any significant market share. Steve Ballmer, Microsoft CEO, 2007. No comment necessary on that one. How about this? Another missed call by what is arguably a has-been brand. BlackBerry announced another massive layoff just this December 2013, but the CEO of BlackBerry, Thorsten Heine, said this: "In 5 years, I don't think there will be a reason to have a tablet anymore." How many millions of tablets have been sold? You know, and tablets are replacing computers, aren't they? And then finally, Cliff Stoll. You got to read this article. Newsweek magazine, February 25th, I believe, 1995. There's a quote from this magazine. He said this: "Then there's cyber business. We're promised instant catalog shopping. Just point and click for great deals. We'll order online tickets over the network, make restaurant reservations, and negotiate sales contracts. Stores will become obsolete. So how come my local mall does more business in an afternoon than the entire internet handles in a month? Even if there were a trustworthy way to send money over the internet, which there isn't, the network is missing the most essential ingredient of capitalism: salespeople." Now, what Cliff missed was how the human being at the consumer level was going to take over the internet. That's what's happened, and that's why these pundits missed it. They looked at internet technologies and marketing on the web strictly from a business perspective and said, this isn't going to work. They didn't look at the consumer and understand the natural propensity we as human beings have for social interaction. And so along comes social media, along come these technologies that creates an environment where millions of people can be incredibly social, and all it takes is a little creativity to take advantage of this communication and this conversation that's happening online. The short-sightedness of these pundits. You completely missed the web's ability to let us share information quickly and across multiple media, and this has empowered the consumer like never before. How many of you have used a review site in the last week? Right. Online shopping in the last week. You bought something online. I mean, this has become part of our lives now. Right? And can you imagine going back? Can you imagine? I mean, I remember in the early 1990s getting my first cell phone. It hung like a brick right here. And you had to pull the antenna out. And it was like military command walkie-talkies, you know? And now I have more computing power in this device right here than the space shuttle had when it first launched in the 1990s. That's crazy how the technology has become made so small and so accessible and at the consumer level, and the consumer has taken over the web, which is a good thing. So brands are in trouble if they think they can use old marketing paradigms to reach a social market. Everything has changed. The average consumer is exposed to 5,000 marketing messages a day. Thank God for the mute button. Right? We're exposed to 5,000 marketing messages a day. Most marketing is still following the old disruptive forms of marketing, where you're watching your favorite TV show, and now we got to stop for commercials. And if you don't mute the button, you at least get up and walk away and go get something in the kitchen to eat or drink and come back. Because we're sitting there and moving along in our life, and then somebody just, while you're in the middle of doing something, comes in, no, pay attention to me now. Yeah, I've got something you really need for your life. And without this, you're not going to make it. I mean, that disruptive kind of marketing is being replaced by a more authentic approach to marketing. People want authenticity. They don't want the blah, 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 blast your message in their face anymore. They want to touch, feel, examine your product way before they commit. They want to know you. It's not about the Wizard of Oz anymore. They want to know who's behind the curtain. Right? And social media and the web itself has given you consumers the ability to peek behind the curtain. Being a great company has become the new brand. It used to be all you had to do was say, this is who we are and this is what we do, and people go, okay, and they'd buy into the message. It doesn't work that way anymore. Now, your brand is defined by your consumers, not by you. Traditional marketing doesn't work as well because trust is gone. When a person's experience doesn't line up with the message that a brand communicates, trust evaporates. How many of you have purchased something that promised one thing and couldn't deliver, and then had to deal with the frustration of either trying to get your money back or trying to get a product fixed? Lots of heads nodding. That's a horrible experience, isn't it? And as soon as you have that experience, your trust in that business begins to kind of, well, let's back off here a little bit. Well, social media gives consumers a way to tell each other, look, I bought this widget from XYZ company, didn't work. I give it a rating of 1 star. Yeah? Review sites, how many of you use them? Before you make a major purchase, you go and see what other people's experience has been with that brand, right? The same thing with us in our businesses here locally. We're subject to the same rules that the big guys are. People don't trust what brands say about themselves anymore. They're turning to each other for stories and experiences with brands. And consumers will quickly expose the quality of a brand's product, and then those reviews are available to the general public. Some companies are getting this. And so they're trying to jump into the social media conversation and pretend like they're there to engage. But people can smell a fake. Right? If it's not authentic, you know that in a second. When somebody's just simply trying to come in and leverage a group or a conversation to try to find an angle to get their marketing message in, rather than being authentic and real. People can smell that. So if a brand is going to make it in today's marketing arena, it has to be real and it has to be human. Today we're going to talk about the role social media plays in a comprehensive marketing strategy. And how many of you have a Twitter account and you have a smartphone with you? If you want to follow, or if you want to tweet questions directly to #CMCSocial, we'll line those questions up, and at the end we'll address those questions. Tom's going to be monitoring those over there. We'll take them from the floor as well, but it's just kind of a fun little experiment with using hashtags, because we're going to show you how to do that today. So if you have a Twitter account, you have access to it on your phone, follow along at #CMCSocial, and you can post some questions to us that way. So let's take a look at just kind of a fun video here.
You're watching an ad. Crayola colored bubbles. It looks awesome. Your kid would love this. So you go online, you're about to buy, and then you can't miss it. It's inches from add to cart. And it's bad.
Stain. Bubbles of the devil. Give this to someone if you hate them.
Every single reviewer gave it
Right.
1 star, but only because 0 stars is not an option. If that isn't enough, they've taken pictures, and they look a little different than the commercial.
So there's an example of where a brand's message didn't line up with the user's experience, right? And now they're still selling those things, and on Amazon you can read all those reviews. I wonder how the sales of that product, how they're going right now. So let's talk about some of the benefits of business of social media. And by the way, feel free to throw a hand up, ask a question anytime along the way. We have a lot of material to cover in the time that we're going to go through, so I'm gonna kind of run right through it. But I want this to be, so jump in if you have questions. Feel free to ask questions, okay? So let's take a look at the social benefits, or the benefits rather, of social media. Some of these include customer engagement. And we talked about the challenges of business on the one hand using social media, but it also brings some great opportunities, because never before in history have businesses been in a position where they can actually listen to their customers en masse and get great feedback on how to make their products and their services better. So on the one hand, businesses that are thinking, wow, our brand, we can't do the things like we used to do and get the results we used to get. On the one hand, that's kind of scary perhaps, but on the other, it's like you have an opportunity to have actual real-time engagement with your customers. Why would you not want that, right? Extending your brand reach. It used to be that marketing, mass media marketing was only within the realm of the big people. I mean, who had the marketing dollars to put a cool commercial on the Super Bowl? I don't, right? And then, so it was only the big players with the big marketing budgets that could use mass media to get their message out there, and the rest of us were left with local radio ads and newspapers and doing what we can. Maybe venture out and put an ad in a magazine that had a bigger reach somewhere along the line. But that was kind of it. And there was no way to measure the results, no way to see what kind of return you were getting on your marketing dollars investment. Well, that's changed. Social media has given us the opportunity to extend our brand reach. You have the same opportunities online for your marketing that the big people do, right? We have this access to the same tools. And so we can leverage those to benefit us just like the big people do. Another thing that social media can do for a business is build trust. I mean, we talked about eroding trust because of the inconsistent messages between brands and their products or their services. Well, here's an opportunity by engaging people at a human level to actually reach out and build trust with them. Right? A lot of businesses, big businesses, use social media and especially Facebook for customer service. You go to their Facebook page, people post complaints or questions, and that's somebody's job to sit and respond to the questions that consumers have and engage in the conversation. And other people often will answer the question for them. And I find this all the time in our sphere in dealing with products online that we need for either plugins for websites and things like that. If I'm not sure about it and I post a question to the developer, it's often another user that says, oh yeah, I had that problem too and this is how I dealt with it. It's an awesome tool for a business because it helps to build trust, to build connections. And it used to be that when a new customer came to a business, came to purchase a service or a product, they did that in faith. And then there was the experience afterwards that determined whether or not they would be a repeat customer. They don't do that anymore. Studies show that you actually have to build trust before they'll engage you. Not the other way around. It's not, they're not willing to take today's consumer. They're smart, they're intelligent, they know their stuff, and they're not going to take the chance on a bad experience. They're going to investigate you, they're going to look at your website, they're going to see what other people are saying about you in social circles. They're going to do all that, and as they do that, their trust in you grows or it wanes. Does that make sense? And then when the trust level gets at a certain threshold, and that threshold is determined by the cost of the transaction that they're going to have to make with you, then they'll reach out and engage you. So if somebody's going to make a $10 purchase from you, okay, the trust level is going to go up so high. But if you've got a $5,000 offering, it's going to take a while for a person to get to that place where they're going to be ready to sign and pay the money. Does that make sense? Okay, so building trust, social media, that's a benefit that'll help us deal with this part of the marketing experience. This leads, when trust is built, it leads to credibility and ultimately to a stronger bottom line. Because the goal of business is to make money, right? That's part of why we do what we do. I would say that there's something underneath that, and that is the passion that motivates you to do what you do and what makes your offering so special and why people would choose you over another vendor of the same product. You know, and that's another conversation. But ultimately, this is how we measure our marketing success. Is it making an impact on my bottom line? Okay. Any thoughts, questions, observations about this so far? So what is social media? I have my definition. What do you think social media is? When you hear the term social media, and man, is it getting stuffy in here. Can we open a door? Would that be too noisy to do that? Insanity, okay. It gets messy, doesn't it? Social media is kind of a messy platform because it's kind of raw and open and out there. How would you define social media? Anybody in Glenwood have an answer?
I would say mostly for the young. I'm not sure how Facebook works. I'm not sure how Twitter works. I don't even know what this hashtag is. I think a hashtag is a # sign, but I'm not even sure. I have a smartphone, but I don't know how to operate it in this social media respect.
Okay, well then you're in the right place today. We're going to talk about all of those things. That's good.
I've even signed up for social media classes, but every time I signed up, the class was canceled because there wasn't enough interest. So I'm just fumbling my way around, or I avoid it because I'm not sure what exposure I'll put myself out there.
Sure. What's your name and what do you do?
I'm Tanya Duffy with High Tone Auto Body. We own a collision repair shop in Basalt.
Okay. Okay. And how about your friend sitting there with you? Who are you and what do you do?
I'm Michelle Nolan and I work at the Glenwood Springs Workforce Center.
Okay. So you probably know Jack then?
Yes.
Okay. Do you think he's an all right guy? We're doing a little social media right now. This is a review of Jack.
Yes, he's a nice guy.
Yeah, we like him over here. Yeah, we think he's pretty...
They paid me to say that.
I was going to say it's the most unconvincing nice guy.
Yeah. Right. Okay. Let me share with you kind of my definition of social media. By definition, social media refers to interaction among people in which they create, share, and/or exchange information and ideas in virtual communities and networks. And I did not invent that. I took that off Wikipedia. So if you Google it, you'll find it there. That's that's a really good definition of social media. Social media are just tools that we use to communicate with each other.
Can I ask something?
Yes, ma'am.
Time consuming.
It's very time consuming. And we're going to talk about ways to streamline that time today. A social media website, then, is a website where users generate the content. Online communities, blogs, forums, social networking sites like Facebook, the users are creating the content. The only thing Facebook has done is create a tool whereby users can create content and share that content with each other. You know, that's all a social media site is, right? So, we talked about that already a little bit. So, social media then, because this is, you know, we're inherently social, aren't we? As a matter of fact, when a human being doesn't seem to connect with the rest of the human race, we have words for that, like antisocial or sociopath, because inherently, you know, we're designed to be social. We need each other. Yes? Yeah. Not only for our businesses, but for life. Health. You know that studies show that healthy people have more social connections than people who have issues, mental illness and things like that. They don't. Right? Like Barry doesn't have very many friends. No. So social media then, because it's kind of flows out of who we are as the human race, has been around for a long time. And let's take a look at just sort of a quick overview of the history of social media. Social media started, as far as the technology goes, in the late 1960s. CompuServe was the first major commercial internet service provider for the public in the United States. Anybody remember CompuServe? Remember that weird 6-digit number, dot, and some letters that you had to use for your ID because we didn't have URLs yet? Tim Berners-Lee hadn't invented that. And so it dominated, CompuServe dominated the field through the 1980s and remained a major player until the mid-1990s. That company had a long run. The first email was sent in 1971. From the 1970s to the early 1980s, social media existed as bulletin boards in which members could post comments and share events. And when I was attending school, it was in the mid-1980s, University of Wisconsin, and I had a 300 baud modem. Anybody remember how many? I'm just nostalgia flashback. Okay, I had to take the receiver off my phone and seat it into this huge device that sat on my desk, and it would send audio signals through my phone and receive them. Yeah, you remember, don't you? Yeah, 300 baud. That's 300 bits per second. Anybody, that's very slow. You literally, that's all I can say. You literally would watch the letters form on each line of the screen as it brought the content over like this. And it was on dial-up. Yeah, 14.4 kilobits per second was fast back then. Then 56K came along, and I remember the first time using a 56K modem in the late 1980s and thinking, oh, I've died and gone to heaven, right? So I mean, so this technology has been around for a while, and social media has been right in there from the beginning. From the 1980, I've said that. Finally, in 1983, the development of a standard internet protocol made a global internet possible. And this was in 1983 when the internet was actually created, and it was not by Al Gore. But in 1983, and let's clarify, the internet is all the technology in place that allows communications electronically over phone lines, satellite signals, optical cables, things like that. The web is not the internet. The web rides on top of the internet. And there are lots of other services other than the World Wide Web underneath it. We kind of use those two terms interchangeably, right? Because that's how we understand it, but we want to separate the World Wide Web from the internet itself. The internet is the technology, the World Wide Web is all the information and the websites and all the stuff that's out there that we use. And in 1989, Tim Berners-Lee from Harvard University invented the hyperlink and the URL, and we got away from CompuServe's 6-digit number, dot, and some letters, and could actually say mydomain.com. He invented that. And the URL, the Universal Resource Locator. And that changed everything. He could link pages together with hyperlinks. And now instead of having these hidden little cubbies out on the internet where we'd have to know where we were going in order to get there, we could just browse around, follow link to link to link to link, and the next thing you know, this crazy thing, the World Wide Web, has been created. And one of the best things Tim Berners-Lee did was to not patent that and turn it into to market. He gave it to the human race. He has made no money on that technology from day one. Currently, he's the president of the World Wide Web Consortium. which is the international nonprofit organization that establishes standards for the World Wide Web. Standards on how browsers are supposed to work, how websites are supposed to be structured, all those things. Then Justin Hall, whoops, back up. Justin Hall was a college student at Swarthmore College in Pennsylvania, and in 1989, he created the first personal blog, and officially social media as we know it today was born. Okay. 1995, Classmates.com was created to give people a way to connect with lost friends from school. Ray Sears found his 7th grade sweetheart on Classmates and reached out to her using Classmates messaging service. He asked her, he said, "Do you remember me from 7th grade?" And she replied, "How could I forget my first love?" Isn't that sweet? They were married, and they've had a couple of kids since then. You know, so social media brought two long-lost lovers from 7th grade together. So, America Online added the first interactive real-time chat to its services, and Ask.com was launched in 1996, letting users ask questions in natural language rather than searching just keywords and searching key terms. In the latter 1990s, social media consisted mostly of blogs and forums. Anybody use forums in here before? Sure. Yeah, it's a forum is kind of, it's a threaded conversation between people who have a shared interest. You know, it might be a forum on mountain climbing, or a forum on mountain biking, or on great restaurants to eat in Dillon, Colorado. Forums can be about anything. It's people would gravitate to those forums where they had an interest. And in 1997, the web had 1 million websites on it. That's not that long ago. It's only 15 years ago, man. Right? Billions. Yeah. Billions. 16. Well, Google, I'm going to pull this number out of the air. I might be wrong. But Google did a crawl of the internet and removed all the duplicate URLs from its database and said it had over 16 billion unique pages out on the internet. If you could look at 16 pages a second and no more pages were added, it would take you 30 years to crawl every page of the internet, of the web. That's how much is out there. 30 years if you see 16 pages a second. That's a lot of information, right? Shortly after the turn of the century, DSL and cable broadband became available. Hallelujah! Oh, do you remember going from 56K to 3.7 megabits? This is like lightning. You know, pages would load so fast. Normally you would go to a website that had a lot of stuff on it. It'd start loading. You go to the kitchen. You get a cup of coffee. You make a sandwich. You watch a couple of television shows. Come back and it's loaded. Not now. You could hardly move your chair around before the page is loaded, and it kept you glued to it. And that speed, that advance in technology, you know, allowed for all kinds of creative possibilities for social media. Now we could look at real-time videos and real-time chat between large groups of people, and it was just a wonderful thing when broadband and cable broadband became available to the general public. Now massive amounts of data could go back and forth between users in real time, unlocking social media's full potential. In the early 2000s, social sites like Meetup.com, StumbleUpon, and Friendster laid the foundation for what we commonly associate with social media. Social media became water cooler conversations. Remember the old commercials and back in the 60s and 70s when businesses tried to portray the natural interaction between human beings, you always had two people leaning on the water cooler. Hey, what'd you smoke today? Marlboro, of course. What'd you smoke? Winston. Sissy. Yeah, it was all about the water cooler, social interaction. Well, social media has replaced our water coolers. Okay, this will not be shared with your employers or your bosses if you have people to whom you answer. How many of you explore social media at work? Just raise a finger if it's embarrassing. Yeah. It's become part of the sphere, hasn't it? It's just part of life. Again, that's our water cooler today. That's become the water cooler of where we interact even in the workplace. Users can now, with these new technologies, users can now create profiles, interact in real time, and organize gatherings online and offline around common interests. In 2000, 70 million computers were connected to the internet. Look how fast. 11 years' time, the internet, what's that? Yeah, in 7 years' time, the internet went from being just some closed communication between a few colleges and government and a few businesses to now being open to the masses, right? These functionalities paved the way for big names in social media, with which we are familiar today. And we'll get through the rest of these slides kind of quickly. 2003, arguably, MySpace, that was the social media that incorporated all the characteristics of the interactive online experience. 1 million users signed up in the first month. WordPress was launched that same year, and in 2004, Mark Zuckerberg launched thefacebook.com, a social networking site for college students that came from Harvard. He wanted to keep Harvard students connected. Well, we know what it's exploded into, right? Over the next year, Flickr and YouTube would appear on the scene, providing tools for users to share pictures and videos. Then from 2006 to 2008, we see the arrival of Twitter, Spotify, Tumblr, and Groupon. The arrival of these social technologies quickly changed the way people viewed and interacted with the world around them. And all of a sudden, high school kids in the United States could friend and share ideas with kids in Europe, even in closed countries. I think that's cool, you know? Remember high school pen pals, any of you? Going back in the day? You write the letter, hopefully they'd write you back. It'd be 3 months before you heard from it. Now kids are interacting online with each other. Kids behind what used to be the Iron Curtain and the bamboo curtains, where they're able to sneak past government firewalls and things like that. And when Iran had their issues back in 2009, and the government of Iran tried to shut down, black out the media so they couldn't see what they were doing to their own people to get control back. People were snapping pictures and tweeting them. Right? And the whole world knew what was going on in Iran. So we've taken over. Social media has changed the rules of engagement. Governments cannot hide behind media blackouts. Businesses could not hide behind marketing hype. And as we move towards the end of the first decade of this century, Facebook, Foursquare, and Google Plus emerge as the big players in social media, with Facebook dominating. Over the last 4 years, Facebook's growth has slowed. Google Plus is slowly gaining on Facebook. Features like Circles, which is the ability to group contacts into segments. Hangouts. Anybody ever use Google Hangouts? Yeah. Video chats, right? It's those are features that Google Plus has over Facebook that's making it attractive to people who want a more interactive experience. The social media landscape is changing, and while Facebook and Google Plus continue to grow, their growth is mostly coming from older users. Teens and young adults see Facebook as so last week. You know, Twitter is making a comeback with that demographic, that younger demographic, and new social media sites like Snapchat are growing rapidly as these platforms don't require the user to sit at a computer to get the most out of them. Because now, with smartphones, these are rapidly replacing sitting down at the computer and going to Facebook and doing your thing on Facebook. Kids, especially teenagers who have the smartphones, and they like I can get on and do my thing right there, and it's quick and easy, and that's why Twitter is becoming popular with them, and why Snapchat and those are becoming popular. So the rules are changing here, aren't they, with us? I think it's important for us at this point to realize that social media is not just a segment of the World Wide Web, it is the World Wide Web. Right down to your website. Everything about the web is social now. It's not government giving you information, it's not businesses giving you information, it's humanity sharing with itself in this technological environment. So the web, it could be argued, is social media. The rise of mobile technologies change everything again, right? Because now social media can be done on the go. How many of you are taking advantage of GoI70.com? Okay, that's a great example of how mobility is coming to play into deal with a very real social issue we have, and that's the congestion on the I-70 corridor. And so Go I-70 provides ways for businesses to promote after-ski deals and things like that to encourage people to take your time going down the hill. Let some of the traffic get out of there before you. And in order to help you do that, we'll give you these offers here at our local businesses. So, if a business is going to engage the world around it, it has to see social media as part of its overall marketing strategy. Not using social media in this century for your business is not like having a telephone in the last century. So how do you use how you use social media for your business depends on the nature of your business and your target market. So, any thoughts, questions, observations on that history of social media? Didn't know that had been around that long, right? It's been out there lurking in the shadows. So, any questions, observations? Okay, well let's go ahead then and let's talk about developing social media, a social media strategy for your business. And we asked the question a little earlier, I asked the question who you are, what your business is like. We talked about B2B businesses and B2C businesses. And because there are some social media that lend themselves very well to a business-to-business kind of interaction, and others that serve the business-to-consumer really well. And so part of developing a comprehensive strategy for social media marketing is to decide, well, what kind of business am I, first of all? And if I'm a mix, then I've got two things to look at, don't I? How do I reach out to my business clients? How do I reach out to my end consumers in a way that's authentic, makes sense, and helps them build trust in me and provides a way for me to engage them? All right? So there are some, we said that. While marketing, another question to ask is, what marketing sector are you trying to reach? So I'm a business-to-business entity, and I want to reach out to other businesses to provide my services. I need to consider what this needs to look like, this communication here. If I'm B2C and I'm reaching out to a broad market, I need to think about that market in terms of sectors. Because we might think, where we are in the mountain region of central Colorado that's primarily a tourism-driven sort of region, we tend to think of there's us and tourists. But even there, we have to go deeper and think of, well, why is this person who's visiting Summit County, what are they looking for? Are they wanting to rent skis? Well, I need to have a message and set up a way to communicate with these folks here in a way that makes sense to them where they are at that moment. Are they looking for a place to eat? Well, I'm going to leverage social media differently than this ski rental shop is going to. And not just by way of content either, right? Are they coming up to visit the Dew Tour and they're just simply looking for directions, a place to park, those sorts of things? And I'm some sort of event coordinator, and I'm providing information to help the guests that come up to the county have a better time while they're here. So we need to even drill down deeper than just the general market of tourists and look at the different sectors that we're reaching out to, right? And craft a marketing message and set up our marketing platform in a way that makes sense to them and also fits how they're going to be searching. Somebody here might use a computer, while this person is probably going to be more mobile, a more mobile device-driven sort of search, right? Here it could go either way. Somebody coming up from the Front Range might get online, look for a good place to rent skis first, or they might get up here and say, oh, we need skis, right? So again, there's all those things to think about when you're thinking about your target market on how you're going to craft this message to connect with them. And what you want to do then is to think in terms of what social media channels are going to work best for what I'm trying to do with my business, right? Think multiple channels. Just as each offline marketing channel has its strength and its weakness, using multiple channels means you get to leverage the strength of the various social media networks, because they all have strengths, they all have weaknesses. Facebook, for example, some of its strengths are it has a huge audience. Close to or over 1 billion people on Facebook. That's nuts, right? It has very well developed analytics, a good ad program. Some of its weaknesses, though, is limited reach. Any one of your posts will be seen by 1% of the people who have liked you. So if you have 1,600 likes, right? When you post, about 16 people will see those on average. Thinking, well, that's kind of deflating. No, you have to be strategic. Barry. 1.6%? Thank you. Do the math. So just over 1.5% of the people will see your post.
No, I mean 1.6 people.
Is that, was that? No, it's 1%.
I know, but 1% of 6 people is not 16 people.
Right, that's what I'm
Right, of her 1,600.
Right, it would be one person rather than 16 people.
Okay, what he said.
10% of 1,600 people is. It's 100. Hey, you're wrong.
Yeah.
Either way, not enough
Just-
people are seeing that post.
Right. Bottom line, do the camera, dude. Be quiet. Yeah, and don't let that be a discouragement. It's a reality. So it means being strategic with your posts. So and we're going to talk about that in a little bit. Google Plus, some of its strengths: great visibility, and great visibility in search, because Google is going to favor itself. And so when you're using Google Plus, if you're looking to strengthen your visibility and organic search on Google, Google Plus is a fantastic tool for that. It's going to help your SEO, search engine optimization, your ranking in search. So it's a good platform for that. Its weaknesses, though, is limited reach. Excuse me, its weaknesses rather is a smaller audience and what we call Google-itis. All right? Because how many of you feel like Google's becoming the Borg? Assimilation is futile, or resistance is futile. You will be assimilated. Anybody Star Trek here besides me? That's kind of like Google, man. They know everything about you. And there's actually this growing resentment on the part of the end consumer towards Google. And even on the part of business, because Google has made no bones about it, their goal is to keep users on their properties as long as possible. So now, when you do searches of good places to eat in Dillon, Colorado, it's not going to give you a list of restaurants. I mean, it'll provide that, but will also provide you a Google-generated list where it'll go out and crawl all those websites and say, well, here's Pug Ryan's, and here's the Dillon Dam Brewery, and here's Jersey Boys, and you never have to leave Google to go visit those people's websites. Well, that's ticking some people off, because we want the traffic. We don't just want Google to say, yeah, they're over here. And so this Google-itis thing where people are getting a little fed up with it. Bing and Facebook are in bed together to try to take Google down. So Facebook does not allow Google to crawl Facebook, which is why one of the reasons you don't find Facebook posts, except for what you see on a landing page, you won't see those in search results when people search, because Facebook has blocked Google's search bots. So there's all that political stuff going on as well. LinkedIn, professional groups, Twitter, great broad audience. But again, Twitter is one of those that you really have to use a lot to get the benefits out of. And then there are the review sites. Yelp, TripAdvisor, Urban Spoon, Angie's List. All of those where people go and share information about you. And there's a lot that we could say about all of these different social media channels. The bottom line is understand what each offers your business and then engage your audience.
Engage. Engage. I've lost contact, sir. What? Engage. 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 Engage.
And that is the buzzword for social media. Engage. All right? Let's talk about the 3 ways that businesses tend to use social media. The first is push. Push is when you're putting your posts out on on Facebook or Twitter, whatever it happens to be, and you're saying things like happy hour from 3 to 6. 10% off these coats on this line today only. It's more of the typical kind of advertising that we're used to seeing. You're simply pushing information out there. And people can go, oh, okay, whatever, or bypass it or whatever. Okay, so that's kind of the basic level of social media usage. The second are campaigns. And campaigns are when you leverage a number of social media along with offline and other online channels to create a cohesive marketing message around an event or a product, you know, or even your business. Okay? Campaigns tend to be a little more interactive, and so they generate more traffic and activity online. They're a little harder to do because they take more time to set up, right? Then the third type of engagement, or a third type of activity, is engagement. This is the most effective, and it's the hardest to do because, as our friend in whose name eludes me in the purple shirt back there said, it takes a lot of time. Joy? Yeah. Right. It takes a lot of time. Because if I'm going to engage somebody in an authentic conversation, I've got to take the time to talk to them. Feedback, questions. I mean, it's very intentional, isn't it? It's one thing to go up to somebody and say, "Hi, how are you doing today?" "Having a good day. How are you doing?" "Good, all right." Okay. It's another to, "How are you doing? What good things are happening in your life right now?" See what I'm talking about there? It's a different level of interaction, isn't it? With people. And it's that type of interaction that end users are looking for. That's why they're in social networks to begin with. They want to see pictures of their friend's new baby. And right in there, with all the stuff happening in their life, is buy my stuff. There's a disconnect there. And so engagement allows us to remove that disconnect and become part of their lives. It's the most effective, and it's the most difficult because it does take time to do that. Now, there's nothing in and of itself wrong with push. You're a business, people expect you to promote yourself, promote your wares, your products, those things. But when that's all you do, pretty soon they start tuning out. And they start unliking you because they're really not interested. They want to know you, right? Then moving up the pyramid, the most effective is engagement. Any thoughts, questions about this at all? What do you think?
You know, it seems to me there's kind of a interesting dichotomy there because you're saying all these people want engagement and yet everybody wants instant gratification.
Yep.
And those are at two opposite ends of the spectrum. You cannot have this instant gratification while you got somebody over here taking the time to engage you. Mm-hmm. So how do you bring that together?
And it is a dichotomy, and even more than a dichotomy, it's a paradox, because on the one hand, people, you know, you do it yourself. You go to your own Facebook page and you go to the wall. It's like scroll, quickly scan things, right? But when you see that same consistent, there's this business's presence that you've liked in there, and okay, there's a happy hour this week. But then see how we made a difference in Breckenridge today, or in Summit County, and in Community Cleanup Day, sort of thing, and also that catches your eye. And so, on the one hand, yeah, we've got this instant gratification of wanting information quickly, but it's that long-term, ongoing presence that somebody has in someone else's life, online, if you will, that still builds the trust, the confidence, and the right to be heard. So it's both and. In this case. So on the one hand, the users being insanely quick about everything, but you're noticed if you're in the space over time, and we're going to talk about that a little more thoroughly later. But that's a great observation, and leads to one of the don'ts when it comes to proper engagement in social media. Any other questions or comments? Glenwood, how you guys doing over there?
Good.
Good? Weather's nice?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Us too. You're going to get some snow tomorrow? We are. No? Okay.
I think we're supposed to, but we don't know.
Okay. All right, enough interaction. Let's get back to it. So let's talk about these things. Push, campaigns, and engagement. Don't be pushy. Push is the way most businesses use social media, and it's the least productive. It's kind of like a yapping dog, that's always nibbling at your ankle, vying for some attention. You know, here I am, pet me, right? So you don't want to be that, and you definitely don't want to come across as this guy, the used car salesman, right? A little push is okay, but if that's all you put out, you'll quickly become part of the noise, and people will either ignore you, and even worse, just take you off their, kick you out of their sphere. Another, the other level was the campaign. How many of you remember the Old Spice in 2009? We still remember that. It was awesome. Old Spice was the lowest of the low in the category of men's cologne in 2009. Anybody ever smell that stuff? There's a reason why they're, you know. So they started this media campaign to begin to raise awareness and kind of create a sexy vibe around Old Spice. And their goal was to actually just get husbands and wives talking about the way men smelled. That was their marketing goal. Yeah. So you remember this guy dropping out of the sky onto motorcycles and into hot tubs and everything else. It became a social media phenomenon. And hundreds of thousands of people, even into the millions, started tweeting Old Spice, asking him to do this on your next commercial, do this. It became this kind of interactive, guided campaign by the public to create all this vibe around Old Spice, to the point where they took the, I can't remember the actor's name, they took him, and for 3 days they filmed little short videos, about 100 of them, with him answering people's questions from Twitter, and put those out on YouTube. Old Spice in 3 months went from being the lowest in its category to #1 because of a campaign. And we go, okay, I don't have millions of dollars to do what Old Spice did. And I don't either. That's true. But you still have the ability, we still can use the same technologies they did to think through what a campaign could look like for me. How can I conduct a campaign for my business and my offering and build an awareness, even if in a limited scale in my own sphere? Campaigns are productive. They will do well for you.
Can you give a different example of campaign? Because I'm kind of lost on what a campaign is compared to the other ones.
Okay, a campaign, let's say, give me your... A massage therapist. Okay, so a campaign around massage therapy might include not only what you do, but educating people about the benefits and the let's say about the benefits of some sort of specific massage technique or some sort of product, whatever that might be. And so you think strategically along the lines, okay, in month 1, I'm going to create a dialogue on Facebook with my followers about the specific health need in their lives. You know, and you think of maybe some of the places where people have adversely been affected by either their lifestyle or whatever, and you start addressing that and creating a conversation. And then in month 2, you say, well, here's some options that come from India, for example, massage techniques that have been proven to help alleviate these kinds of pains or aches or whatever they might be. Has anybody ever experienced this before? And you get, again, it's engaging contact. You ask questions. What was your experience like? You know, and then the announcement. Well, let you know we've brought this into our massage, our spa, or however you define that, and we'd love to have you come in and try this here and let us know what your experience was like. Can you kind of? I mean, that was really off the top of my head and kind of unfold it.
It's leading to me because that just seems like a drawn-out push.
Well, if that's the way you do it, it is. But if it's genuine, if you're genuinely asking the questions, hey, how are you doing? You know, then it's a campaign, and it's still engaging. It comes down to the authenticity on the business owner's part. Okay, now there's nothing wrong with doing campaigns to build business. That's why you're doing this. That's okay, and there's nothing inauthentic about that. It's inauthentic when you pretend it's something different. Does that make sense? But if people know that this is what you're doing or what you're about. I mean, this here, he's selling Old Spice, unabashedly, and one of the most successful social media campaigns. Barry.
At the same time, you're
so you're using the different technologies, video, whatever you write for your campaign.
Sure. What Barry said for the people in Glenwood, I don't know if you hear him from back there or not. He's saying that you're using all of these different social media to in the campaign to promote the message that you're putting out there. So it's not just one message, and it's not just the same message in every place. Is that what? Am I checking with you on that? You're genuinely engaging people and asking questions. You know, does that make sense? It's kind of like we're splitting hairs, but there is a huge difference between a campaign that is authentic and one that's kind of fabricated and feels like it's misleading, because that's you touched on the very thing that an end user would hit on. And the cool thing is, you're an end user. So as a business owner and you're putting a campaign together, ask yourself, how does this make me feel? And when it's authentic to you, it's going to be authentic to them too. Does that make sense? Yeah.
It sounds like there could be an element of push in a campaign.
And there will be, sure.
Essentially, a campaign is a strategic push.
Mm-hmm.
You know, instead of just throwing stuff out there every day, every week, or whatever, it's strategic. That's the key word.
Mm-hmm. And it does build bridges of engagement, though. You take a look at what Old Spice did with the Twitter and responding to people via YouTube and Facebook and things like that. There is engagement as well. So it's kind of bringing all of it together in an intentional kind of way.
But there's not necessarily a clear line between.
No. Okay, does that help? Okay. As we saw earlier, engagement is the most productive form of social media use. It's also the most difficult because it can't be faked. I think we touched on that just a little bit ago. If you are going to engage people, you have to do so on their own terms. So here are some of the rules of engagement. First, use a variety of content. You know, social media is a multimedia environment. So take advantage of text, video, audio, images, and in some cases, if you have complex ideas that you want to communicate to people, do an infograph. Somebody tell me what an infograph is.
Okay. Jeff, if you show those slides, the history.
Yeah, that history that I took you through was a long infograph. It's just a timeline of information on the history of the development of the web that we sliced into pieces and put into a frame. But that's all an infograph is. It's a pictorial illustration of a complex idea. And these things here, video, images, infographs, are very important because we've moved away from being a text-driven culture to be an image-driven. It's almost like we've gone back to the Dark Ages. Because in the Dark Ages, people didn't read. They relied on icons and pictures and images to create their reality. Well, we're kind of back there again, only we're educated about it now. Right? I'm hoping we are. Time will tell when all this is said. So we don't read, I mean, who reads online? Unless you're going to sit down and read a book or something like that. But you don't. You scan. Users scan the web. They don't read. They scan for information when they find their eyes are. We've trained our eyes to quickly look for the things we want. Ah, there it is. And then we zero in on it, right? That's how users use the web now. And so making sure that we have a good mix of these different media is going to be important. And the cool thing is, you can produce videos for your online marketing with this. It takes us back to that authenticity thing again. Users like and trust the videos that come off your iPhone over those that are developed by expensive media production houses and have all the glitz and glam and exploding whatsits and whiz popples and crackles and things like that. They like the authentic. It's kind of raw and bouncy. It's real. That's a real person who put that up there. And you can set your phone up to shoot a video, hit a button, and it posts immediately to YouTube, and it's out there right on your social media as you're going along. Right? Anybody do that? Well, you go to, if you have an iPhone, it's real easy. You go to your camera, and you shoot a little video, and then you click the share button, and one of the options is YouTube. And you, in your settings, you've linked your YouTube account. You've already have your login. So when you hit publish, it sends us right up to YouTube, and it's out on the web.
What if you don't have a YouTube account?
Then you go create one. They're free. That's part of the setup.
All assuming you know how to
Yeah.
the settings button on the phone.
Right. Yeah.
Important to note there too, like you're saying on the YouTube account. Well, Google is obviously #1 search engine out there. YouTube is #2. Video, #2.
So Google is #1 on video. You want to do Google
No,
Plus
no,
and take your little home theater, iPhone video and throw it onto Google Plus. Is that what you're telling me I should do?
Google as a search engine, people go to look for bed and breakfast in Frisco, right?
Right.
They're going to go to Google most of the time. That's the #1 ranked search engine. #2 ranked search engine above Yahoo and Bing, and the other ones out there is YouTube. YouTube is a video platform. So think of how you.
So people are while they may go to Google first to search, they're going to go YouTube next, bed and breakfast in Frisco, because they're going to want to see the place, right? They're going to want to see pictures. They want to.
That's what my professional photographer does for my, web page. I mean, I'm sorry, but I have a hard time thinking that me wandering around with my iPhone taking videos of my bed and breakfast is what people are looking for. I mean,
it is what people are
It is what
I totally hear what you're saying, but it is. It's what I look for.
What do I?
If you don't have a video or a site tour, because for me, you professional photographers make everything look its very best at its best moment. But what's it going to look like when I come there? So I trust more, personally. This is my generation. Chelsea is in a generation way behind me, but I think she probably agrees that, like TripAdvisor. I like to see what other people have taken so I can get a feel for things in a real sense. So for me, if there's a YouTube video, or I manage Warren Station Performing Arts Center, the best shots are the ones that really other people have taken. It's the most authentic.
Authentic, right. Are you catching all this, Glenwood? Are you hearing this conversation? Okay. We're talking about using simple cell phone cameras to get you to take video to post to YouTube, for example, and the question is raised, well, I hire professionals to do that. That it's hard for us, and especially us in the older realm who are used to all that top-down marketing that we were exposed to for so long, right? It's hard for us to fathom that somebody would actually rather see a home shot video on your cell phone when you're talking about your business than something glitzy and put together by the professionals with all the background music and the panning sweeps and all that stuff. But it's the truth.
I'm listening.
It's the right. It's the truth, and especially for 40s and unders, they grew up in a different paradigm than those of us that are not under 40 anymore, right? And I feel your pain. I came into the social media marketing world kicking and screaming because I don't like it.
I don't waste my time on Facebook.
And that's what it feels like, but it's not. It's not a waste, and it's retraining the brain to think.
I don't have time.
It's a waste if you don't do it.
By the time I'm busy, paying my bills, seeing to it that, I've got everything taken care of in my business, I don't know where these people find time to sit on Facebook. Because I already work from, 6 o'clock in the morning till sometimes 2, 3 o'clock in the morning.
Sure.
And Facebook doesn't fit into that schedule.
Bathroom.
That's because
Bathroom.
all the employees are
Yes, we got you.
Probably most of your employees are on Facebook on your dime.
Well, if that's helping my business, I don't have a problem with that.
Yeah, it's probably
seriously, and that is one of the things that I'm kind of here for, is how to get my employees to be more business productive on Facebook and Twitter and YouTube and whatever else was up there.
Sure. So let them shoot the video for you and put it up there and promote it. It's their world. It's their world. Let them do it and hold them and with you know, be wise, and there's accountability that needs to go with that and everything else. It's your business being promoted.
Right.
But to put your best, have them put your best foot forward in these social arenas for you. It's their world. This my 12-year-old just got her. I let her get a Facebook page early. She wanted to see all of her friends, and she comes up to me and she started and says, "Look, you know you can do this, this, and this." And I've been working in this medium. It's like, you just want to go, you know. It's like, how did you know all this stuff? It's because this is their world. It's intuitive. What's not intuitive to you and I as older people, and let's be honest, it's incredibly intuitive to younger people.
Your 12-year-old is not going to come spend, you know, $250 at my bed and breakfast. So
not tomorrow.
Not tomorrow.
Exactly.
But if your bed and breakfast is part of her conversations, as a young adult looking for a nice place to go, it'll be in the running, right? And that's the whole point of all that. Any other thoughts about this? This is good stuff. Good stuff.
I would just add, you know, that you were touched on a little bit about authenticity. Probably the most important value to the current, you know, the younger generation or anybody below 40 is authenticity and transparency. That is the most important value that people have. I mean, you see that permeating throughout not just social media and the internet, but in our institutions and governments and business and everything. That's what people are looking for, and that's why that is so important with social media, to have that.
I want to, go ahead. Glenwood.
I have a question regarding, you know, we all want the feedback for our business. Well, us in the collision repair, most of the parents are the ones paying for the repairs to the children's cars, right?
Right.
Or their own vehicle. Okay, so how do I get feedback from the older generation? I'm going to say that my clientele is at least 45 and up. And so I know some people are really into the Facebook and they know all of the social media, but then there's the other spectrum, kind of like me, that are frightened of it, don't know enough about it, and so even though they want to give us, you know, brownie points for what we've done, they're fearful of how to go about it, and how do I as a business owner, you know, coach them to give us these brownie points, because this is what helps our SEO. This
Sure,
is what
absolutely.
helps pass the word.
Yeah, and the quick response to that is not to assume that your users are like you. And I don't mean that in a bad way, or to disparage you or anything. It's just that's kind of the assumption we make, that everybody else is like me, and it's not the case. People in that age group that you're talking about, many of them are going to be on Facebook already, and they're not unfamiliar with internet technologies. And one of the good places, especially to start chalking up reviews, is with a Google Plus page. And your Google Business listing. If you have a Google Business listing and you've followed Google's process to completely register your business, they have a way right through search engines to put a review on your business listing so that people can see that. And it's a matter of inviting them, hey, would you look us up on Google and give us a review? And most people in that age group you're talking about, they've done this before. Does that help?
Yeah.
Okay. Yes, ma'am.
In regards to what she's talking about, this is like the 45 to 54-year-old group is the largest growing group, and since 2012 has gone up 80% through the use social media. So
yeah,
it goes to anybody.
Yeah, exactly. And did you hear what she said? No. One of the largest growing sectors in social media is the 50 to 55 group and older. And if you think about it, it makes sense. We're getting older, so the ages are advancing. And with Twitter, we talked about teens, young teens being a growing demographic there. The other end of the spectrum, it's women 55 and older that are growing Twitter so quickly again. So even, you know, it's like we're being brought into this thing because social media is the norm now. So more and more people are using it. And if you have some unfamiliarity with it, it's daunting and a little bit scary at first to get involved. But your customers, many of them, I would dare say, are already using it. And it's a matter of asking them to give you a review. If you tell them where to go, would you visit our account on Yelp, for example? You can set up an account on Yelp, which is a review site. That bypasses a website and everything. So would you review us on Yelp if you had a positive experience? And they can look you up. And I would even go a step further and have a little iPad right there in the office or a tablet and bring up your Yelp listing and say, hey, would you mind putting a review on here real quick while you're here? And no, sure, no problem. Click it and it's there, right? Make it as easy for people as possible. Right. Great question and good observation. Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Question along those lines for the people that are total technological idiots like myself. What, like 3 would you start with to learn?
The 3 that I would go after are going to be Facebook and YouTube, and for me, LinkedIn, because that's a professional. LinkedIn tends to be more of a professional, white-collar type of social media. A lot of groups in there dealing with professional level things. It might not be I'm B2B. It might not be that for you. It might be. I would definitely say for massage therapy, Facebook would be a great one. I think that YouTube would be awesome, especially in just promoting products and demonstrating. Doing demonstrations on YouTube, and then even Twitter could be good for massage therapy. Google Plus would be for SEO. That's kind of hands down. We need to say Google Plus is a must.
I would say also any review sites like Yelp or anything.
I mean, not just me specifically. I mean, like everyone in the room. Like,
yeah.
I hope I'm not the only one that thinks technology should all be thrown in garbage.
Well, it's like that graphic you showed earlier with B2B to B2C. Yeah. It's really going to depend on what
your business
does and what platform is correct for your usage. The reason why I threw
No, you're good.
Google Plus was, like you said, obviously for search engine optimization, but also it is, I don't know if it's the fastest growing.
It's growing very quickly, and it's creeping up on Facebook and users.
And because of Facebook's the new algorithm in their newsfeed and the life of posts and the more, this is why I'm not speaking up front because I have a hard time speaking. The progression of paid ads with Facebook and Twitter and LinkedIn and all the most popular ones, Google Plus is not yet there, and you've got these communities and you can create, and it's kind of your, keep your friends close but your enemies closer. It's kind of like that. You can join with other massage therapists. So I don't know. Maybe you can clarify what I'm saying.
No, that's good. We're going to talk about that a little bit later on here as well, about the different crowd versus. Well, we'll get there in a second. So there's no pat answer for which one should I use. Which one's best fits your business? And I think another question asked is which one fits you the best? Which one do you feel most comfortable on too? Because if something's going to be a drain to use and it's going to be hard to use, it's going to be hard to motivate yourself to get on there and do what you need to do. So obviously you got to learn some. You want to learn some. Learn a few of them. But which one do you feel the most comfortable with? As well. I'm starting to get the Facebook thing. I like it actually. Been having some fun with it. So what are you doing talking up there if you're getting it? Well, it's one thing to know it from a business and marketing perspective. It's another thing is to be a human being and use Facebook. I think that's kind of where you are too. It's just like my wife refuses. My wife refuses.
I will not have a personal Facebook account. I do have my business on Facebook. I don't do anything with it. I need to find one of my employees that can.
There you go.
Into it. I would do LinkedIn. I do LinkedIn personally because it is a much more professional. Mark Zuckerberg started Facebook so that people at Harvard could get together and have sex. I mean, that was his whole thing. That was at Harvard.
It's college. What do you think?
It's a college, you know, seriously. And so my business does do Facebook because it has to, but personally, I'd go with LinkedIn.
Yeah. And so that, again, it comes down to what fits you best, what fits your business best. What are your customers using? That's a big question to answer as well. Okay, so let's talk about some rules of engagement. I'm gonna kind of fly through these. First, don't be a beggar. Look at this Facebook ad. Okay, this Facebook post by OxyClean. It's April 15th. Like stubborn stains, filing your taxes can be, well, taxing. Like it if you agree. Or if you like it if you've already filed. That's an unabashed attempt just to get likes from people. What does OxyClean have to do with taxes? Give me a break. And that's how a lot of people respond to that. And we see the results. 623 likes, 15 comments, 1 share. Not so good. Right? So don't be a beggar. It's okay to go out there and get likes. You want people to follow you on Facebook and things like that. But do so in a way that's authentic and that makes sense. Another rule of engagement, use original content. If you're going to use stock photography, at least buy it and remove the watermark. Right? Because this is not authentic. I'll tell you, it's a little risque, but I'll tell you a story of a gentleman's club in Sydney, Australia, that posted a contest on Facebook about its dancers. And it had baby pictures of all its dancers, and it said, see if you can guess who this dancer is. Well, what they didn't do is they didn't crop off the date on the picture. And people did the math and said, based on this baby's, the date stamp on this picture, this baby is now 14 years old. They better not be dancing in your club. And they got a lot of bad press and a lot of jeering for one being misleading with the picture. Obviously, it was nobody in their club. They just thought they'd get clever with Facebook, and their audience smelt it out. See, use original content. Be original. Use your pictures. Use your video. And where you want to go grab stock photography and stuff, at least buy it and get rid of the watermark. Right? Another rule of engagement, be appropriate. How's this? Millions are in uproar in Cairo. Rumor is they heard our new spring collection is now available. Here's this international bloody event and a shameless attempt on the part of a business to leverage that to market themselves. And that's exactly how people respond, Alyssa. Like, no. Some other ones, the recent ones on Martin Luther King Jr. Day. How will you celebrate MLK Day? Whatever you choose to do, don't forget to protect your eyes. Eyeglass Company. Got a lot of negative feedback from this tweet. American Airlines. Everybody can be great because anybody can serve. Looking for an opportunity to serve? Join us. Again, Martin Luther King. Kind of equating what that man went through to launch the civil rights movement in America with getting a job with American Airlines now. You know, and that's how people respond. So we want to be appropriate. There are just in any social circle, there are rules of engagement, aren't there? We have our space. We have in human interaction, we know what the rules are. They're unspoken and they're unwritten, but we know what they are. The same is true in the social media sphere. There are rules of engagement. Be bright, be brief, and be gone. Okay? Long, tedious posts like this will never be read. You know, get to the point, be brief, be fun, be interesting, and be gone. And for those of us that don't want to spend lots of time developing lots of text-based content, this is a wonderful principle, right? Finally, be cheesy if you're about cheese. Like if you love pizza, ignore if you want your whole family to burn in hell. I wonder how many likes this got. Now this actually came off of a website that was using this example to show how not to be cheesy. Okay, so this wasn't legit. So yeah, you're good. But you've seen these sorts of things, right? It's like, no, this doesn't make sense. You're just trying to get a like out of me. And I don't know about you. When people post those axiomatic type of posts, that yeah, I'm going to like that. Like if you're against human trafficking, ignore if you're okay with it. I've seen a post like that, and it's like, I'm not going to like you because you're trying to manipulate me, right? And I don't want to be manipulated. So we want to avoid these cheesy kind of activities.
Hey, Justin, what's up?
Not much, Jimmy. Hashtag chilling. What's up with you?
Been busy working. Hashtag rise and grind. Hashtag is it Friday yet?
Hey, check it out. I brought you some cookies. Hashtag homemade. Hashtag oatmeal raisin. Hashtag show me the cookie.
Sweet.
All right. All right. We had a question earlier about hashtags. And let's, we want to talk about them because hashtags, you want to use them in social media. All a hashtag is the crosshatch or the pound sign, whatever we want to call that is used as a token to identify a conversation that people can group into. So for example, if like today here, we have a hashtag set up, hashtag CMC social, and if you search that hashtag on Twitter, you can post questions with that hashtag, and then everybody who searches that hashtag can see your questions, can see your comments, and be part of the conversation surrounding the hashtag. Does that make sense? So all a hashtag is a flag that we're waving saying CMC social media conversation over here. Okay, now why would I want to use hashtags in my social media? To engage people, to draw attention to a thought or a cause or an idea or a campaign. You know, so if you do a campaign, you hashtag it. And then people can search that. If they're following your campaign or they're following the conversation, whatever, they can use the hashtag to stay connected with others who are engaged with that. Barry?
It's also along those lines, because of, say, use Facebook, for example, because of the newsfeed algorithm that now, if you're not getting any likes, posts, or shares, nobody's going to see your post. Using a hashtag within that post enables whoever is interested in that subject matter or event or comment
to find your post.
To find you, where otherwise, if your post isn't getting any engagement, you never will be seen.
Mm-hmm.
So hashtag bed and breakfast.
I'm sorry. Where do I put this hashtag? I mean, I understand that a hashtag is the pound sign.
Right.
Well,
in your post. when you post on Facebook or LinkedIn, because LinkedIn supports hashtags too, when you post on LinkedIn, let's say that you're posting about your bed and breakfast, right? So you post in LinkedIn and you put hashtag B&B or however you want to identify it. And then somebody in LinkedIn says, I'm looking for a bread and breakfast in Frisco, and they search bread and breakfast. Well, because that's been hashtagged in your post, it'll bring that up and display that content to them, so they can find you.
I thought, so I'm maybe totally lost, but I thought hashtag was like a Twitter thing, so you could talk to people.
Yes, it is. It's both and. Hashtags can be used in Twitter, they can be used in LinkedIn for data organization, they can be used in Facebook. Twitter.
Who makes up the thing that goes, like in this one where it says beat cancer, who makes up the beat cancer part?
You do.
Oh.
Yeah, you set that up.
So if somebody already has beat cancer and you do beat cancer,
you'll become part of that conversation.
Oh, then you become part of that. So how do you find that conversation? Original conversation.
Type in hashtag beat cancer.
Right.
Where?
In whatever social media you're using, whether it might be Twitter, if you're looking to follow something on Twitter feeds, and a lot of schools
not Google. Not like Bing.
Google Plus. It has to be a social media. Yeah, not a search engine. It has to be a social media. And colleges, and this is a fairly new development. How many of you use like Twitter in college? Yeah, talk about that a little bit. Can you talk about that a little bit too? Because this is a whole, education has jumped all over hashtagging in college campuses. Was that your experience? Did you use the hashtag in the classroom for submitting questions to the instructor while the lecture was going on and stuff?
Kind of. CSU just used it. They had a couple pages you can follow.
Okay.
The sports, get connected.
Sure.
Sports, like elections for the president, you know, all sorts of stuff like that. But yeah.
Hospitality, that was my major, so
Okay.
a little bit social media was definitely involved there. LinkedIn was big.
Right.
Please.
A great one right now would be go to Facebook or Twitter and type in hashtag Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And you're going to see everything under the sun. You're going to see recipes. You're going to see, I don't know, I mean, predictions. You're going to see places to stay in New York for the Super Bowl. I mean,
Type hashtag Super Bowl recipes.
There you go.
And boom.
Right. So it's a hashtag. It's simply a way to organize content, and that content can be happening in real time, like on Twitter, because that's typically what you'll see a lot of that activity. Twitter, or it can be over time, like on Facebook and on LinkedIn, where you post something, hashtag it, and it may be a few days later, a few weeks later, somebody happens to search your tag.
So this lady over here is using, if she types in LinkedIn, thank you for coming up for Martin Luther King weekend, hashtag B&B. Wouldn't it be advisable to look at hashtag B&B to see if that's a conversation she wants to attach to her?
Absolutely. Yes, absolutely. So do a little research ahead of time and see how you can make either your hashtag unique or see if you can find a hashtag that gets you into the conversation you want to be in. Does that make sense?
So you're actually researching your hashtag so that it actually promotes your business because it's some content worthy of what your goals are.
Right. And so like today, when we set up this hashtag for this presentation, CMC Social, we looked to see if it existed before, and it did. A gal used it back in November for some sort of social media presentation she had done, but that was the last time it was used. And so we felt, we'll just use it today then. That's okay. She can be part of our sphere today. But that's, again, that's what a hashtag does for you, is it lets you put your content into categories. And as Barry pointed out, it's more likely actually to be seen if it's hashtagged than if it's just left generic and open. Make sense? Okay. So here are some don'ts, some quick don'ts about using social media. I'm going to go through here really fast because we are running out of time quickly. Don't use it without first developing a comprehensive marketing plan. Think through your overall marketing strategy first. Not just your social media strategy, but everything. What we're going to do, here's our website, online, the whole picture, and then look where social media fits into that. Don't try to do everything at once. There's so much you could do, and it feels overwhelming. Pick one platform and start to develop it. And once you get your groove on there, and you're like, okay, I got this down. Now let's add another platform to it. And pretty soon it starts to feel natural. It'll start to feel like, okay, this is what I do. Barry's awesome at that. He does hashtags. He's hashtag Barry, man. He's he's really good at this stuff, and because it's just part of his life. We go skiing. He's tweeting it and he's posting it and blogging it, all on the chairlift, and it's very cool.
The SEO of this whole organization.
Well, this is a social media dude, though. He's got the social media stuff down well, very well. Don't start unless you plan to stick with it. Okay? Because anybody been to somebody's business Facebook, and the last post was March of 2011? Mm-hmm. Looks bad for you. It says your shelves are empty. So don't start if you're not going to stick with it. Start slow, be intentional about it, but stick. When you jump in to stay. And the next point, don't be stingy. You're going to have to spend marketing dollars on social media. It's not free. It used to be. And then Facebook realized we can make a lot of money if businesses, to really get the exposure they want, have to pay for it. Now, dollar for dollar, social media marketing spend is a lot better than mass media. Much better. And you can track the results. Okay, so it's okay. This is why they're there. They're there to make money just like you. It's their business. They've brought together all these people and given you access to them, and it's only going to cost you $10 per 1,000. Generally. You know, that's pretty cheap marketing spend, especially when those 1,000 people are people who are in your industry, in your area of interest. It's not just the broad shotgun, I hope I hit something. No, it's very focused. You can zero in on who you want your ads to be shown to, right? So it makes the marketing spend much more, in my opinion, intelligent, because I know who's seeing this. I'm seeing their response. Okay, and we don't want to ignore the review sites either. Review sites, like Yelp, like all these other sites, you know, you can create your own business profile on many of them and follow what people are saying about you. I'm not sure how Yelp has, I know Yelp has been going through a lot of changes, but it used to be Yelp would not let you respond to negative reviews as a business. If somebody went on Yelp and just like blasted you, you couldn't respond to them. And I know that that's changed if you pay for it. You get a business account, and then you have the ability to actually respond to what people are saying to you on a review site. And it's good, it's in my opinion, it's dollars well spent, because you don't want to leave somebody's complaint hanging out there on review sites. You know, the users know we make mistakes. And what users aren't looking for is a perfect business. They're looking for somebody to be real. And if somebody has a bad experience with you, you know, and they post that on Yelp and they see that you've got on there and you said, I am so sorry that this was your experience with us. The next time you're in the area, please stop by, we'll make this right. People go, okay, good. You know, they'll respond to that. When you leave negative reviews out there on review sites unanswered, that's bad press, because it says you don't care, you know, or you're unaware, and both of which are not good from a marketing perspective, right? So let's bring this all together, because we've been all over the board. Let's take a look at what a comprehensive online marketing strategy looks like, because I've mentioned that term several times. And at the center of your online universe as a business is your website. And we're using an example of a client we worked with recently, because we developed everything. They were a business startup. They came to us with an idea and said, can we do this? And we literally helped them build an online-based business from the ground up over the last year now, a little over a year. And so we start with their website, you know, and making sure that that their website is designed to accomplish what your marketing goal is. For example, in most cases, the goal of your marketing plan is to get people to your website or to take some course of action online. That action might be looking up your, you know, getting more information about you to come to your restaurant, to come to where you are. It may be promoting a brick and mortar business, but it also may be promoting some sort of online service. Social media provides the avenues for you to naturally and organically and authentically get consumers' votes, build their confidence, and ultimately get them to your website. And this is one of the metrics you want to track is social conversions. And Google Analytics provides for you a way to do that. How many of your people coming to your site are actually coming from social media sites? I'm going to back up because that was too quick. So you see we have at the center of the project here, or this example, is our website. Then we've got the business's Facebook page. And this particular product is an online tool for teachers to use in the classroom, so students can examine 3D artifacts and teachers can conduct lessons over the internet online with this tool. And so this Facebook page is promoting the product and educational strategies and resources, not just the product, on its Facebook page. And in the first month, 6 weeks of launching Facebook, they've got over 2,500 likes on this Facebook page, because they're creating content that's engaging with people. Then Google Plus, they're on there as well. YouTube videos, not only demonstrating the product, but teaching teachers how to use 3D objects in the classroom to augment the teaching experience, the learning experience for their teachers. Twitter, posts about, hey, we're going to be there, we're going to be doing this, and here, did you see this article by so-and-so, and it's not even related to their business, but it's a conversation, and they're resourcing their audience. So you want to track that. One of your metrics will be tracking that. Well, how do you track that? There are a lot of tools available out there. There we go. I think we put Pinterest on there too, I think. There are a lot of tools. Some of them are free. Hootsuite is a free tool that allows you to not only Hootsuite's analytics isn't so great, but it allows you to at least bring all of your social media together in one place, and you can post to Twitter from it. You can post to Facebook. You can post to blog. You can schedule posts to go out in an automated fashion. Sit down and do a week of tweets and have them go out once a day at a certain time, sort of thing. So that helps to streamline that whole time issue. When you can say, okay, today is social media day, and I'm going to get all my content together for the next 2 weeks or a month or whatever it is, and then using a tool like Hootsuite or Sprout Social, use those to disseminate the information, but then also to track the engagement with that. One that we've discovered recently that we like is Buffer. Buffer is an add-on to a browser, and as you're searching the web and come across something that could be interesting to your followers, you click on the Buffer tag, put a little comment in there, and based on the settings, it'll post that comment for you at a certain time. And so it's a way for you to share what you're experiencing with people who are following you. Clout is a measure of your online presence when it comes to social media. What's your Clout score? Go check it out sometime. Go to clout.com, put the name of your entity, website, social media, whatever it is, and it'll return you'll know what to put in, it'll show you. And it'll return a score saying, well, your Clout score is 8, or it's 32. And the broader your social media reach, the higher your Clout score. So it gives you a metric to use to kind of determine, okay, how well am I doing compared to where I was last month, right? Then, of course, the platforms themselves offer their own analytics. Facebook Insights, you can see what's going on with your Facebook page with that. Twitter Analytics, Google Analytics, Pinterest Analytics as well. And these give you as a business owner tools to see how many people are coming, how long are they staying, what are they doing with my stuff. And that's kind of important to know.
Well, I was just going to say, what often is the case is you'll look at this stuff, you'll go on to Hootsuite or Google Analytics, and you'll look at all the followership and engagement, and you're like, oh, that's kind of cool. I don't really know what that means. I would encourage you to take a spreadsheet and start tracking. So, okay, for the month of January, this is what my Clout score is. This is my engagement level. This is my followership on Twitter and Facebook and so forth. But then in the spreadsheet for January. And then in February, see what it is again. And then just keep tracking. And that's a way that you can actually see, is the efforts that I'm doing, are they making an impact?
Right. So how would a business building an online marketing platform? That question doesn't make sense. I'm going to ignore it. Okay, so here's where we start. Here's how you build your online marketing platform, if you will. You start with your brand. Your brand isn't your logo. It's not. And the other thing is true too. Your logo is not your brand. Your logo is a visual icon that represents your brand. But in today's online marketing landscape, your brand is what consumers say you are, not what you say you are. So in designing your brand, ask yourself these questions: who are you? What do you do, and why does it matter? Because that's what people are going to ask when they're checking you out online, right? What is your brand archetype? And an archetype is a personality, because when we're interacting with the web, we're not interacting with a literal person. We have to create personalities around our marketing efforts. Our website should have a personality to it, not just be this kind of hospital sterile thing. But does the website communicate who I am? And there are actually 22 different marketing archetypes that marketing psychologists have identified as personalities that people connect with online. And when we help a company deal with determine its brand and build a new brand identity, we work with about 12 of those, because some of them can be combined. Because 22 is a lot to think about. But to work with 12 different personalities and find out, my brand is, I'm a creator, and I'm an explorer, and I'm a regular guy. Those are 3 different archetypes. Well, your website needs to feel like that when people come there. And the way you engage people online needs to feel like that. That there's this kind of regular person that I'm talking to. They're just down to earth, but they got this creative flair, and they like to. They're explorer type personalities. They're fun. You know, I mean, those are personalities that can become reflected in a business in its online media. What is your brand message? You know, what do you want people to hear? Finally, when it comes to your website, think of user experience over glitz and glam. Expensive doesn't always mean the best. $600 million. Cheap is always a bad idea. Okay. Why is that? You know, we've all been tempted by, let's Intuit free websites. Get your free website. Well, that sounds good. Why is that a bad idea? You have very little control over the user experience with those things. You get this template, you throw your stuff in. There's no personality. There's no archetype. There's no thought of, okay, well, when the user comes to this page, what are they feeling and thinking, and where would I like them to go next, or how do I help them find what they're looking for next? You can't do that with those get your free website or get your website for 1 penny deals. Cheap's not a good idea. If you own a brick and mortar store, your website needs to reflect what the user will experience when they visit you. We did the website for Pug Ryans, and when we started creating the look and feel around Pug Ryans, our designer went in with a camera and took snapshots of the wood grain and all kinds of things, and then did these cool treatments with it and incorporated all of that into their website. So when you walk into Pug Ryans, if you've seen their website, you say, oh, I've been here before, online. There's a personality and there's a feeling, that an ambiance that the website itself creates. If your business is online, your website needs to provide a user with an experience that will make them want to come back. And if your business meaning like an e-commerce or some sort of software as a solution type of product, well, when they come to your website, that's all they're going to interact with. You know, so you definitely, that user experience has got to be great, or they won't come back, because people vote with their feet. Or their keyboards in this case, right? So when it comes to content, when you're building your social media strategy, think user experience. You're about to take your business into a marketing sphere where the user rules. Look to engage them, become part of their worlds, offer a good mix of push, campaigns, and engagement, develop a 12-month calendar. And that's easy for us to do. We have a very predictable cycle up here. We have ski season, we have mud season. We have summer, we have mud season, or shoulder season, or how we want to term that. It's a very predictable cycle. What we can't predict is the weather, but we do know that we've got this cycle up here, and there's certain things that happen every year that I can leverage as part of my marketing. I can talk about this event, and in the process of doing that, when you're up here for the Dew Tour in Breckenridge, we've got a great place for you to stay. You know, and then shoot some pictures. Have somebody shoot some pictures for you of the Dew Tour and post about it and talk about it in your media. But the calendar helps you be strategic with the content you're going to focus on developing throughout the year, so that you're not, oh gosh, I got to do a full Facebook post. What do I talk about? You know, you don't do that. You've got your calendar to help you with that, and then you're leveraging all the right media for the right audience. Does that make sense? Then communities, join them. Be part of the conversation. This goes back to that authenticity thing. You know, if you're a restaurant owner, find a restaurant group in LinkedIn that you can be part of and share ideas with other restaurateurs to. I did say restaurants, right? Yeah. Okay, I'm just making sure. So with other restaurateurs to talk about how can we be better, how can we do better, what are you learning from social media, what am I learning, and it becomes this kind of dialogue that you benefit from as a business owner. Crowds, the crowds are out there. You know, we got communities you can be part of that have a topical kind of focus, and then there's just the crowd at large. Well, engage them, be part of the conversation in an authentic kind of a way. And we have I'll tell you what, we have the best of the best up here when it comes to talking about lifestyle and fun things and cool stuff that's happening and humanitarian things and the arts and theater. I mean, you have to go to Denver to find the kind of opportunities that we have up here in Summit County to talk about. This is not Nebraska. We're not out in the middle of the sticks having to come up with ideas. You know, that we got awesome things going on. I don't mean to offend anybody from Nebraska. If you're from Nebraska, I'm sure it's a fine place to be from. You know, but you follow me. There's just cool stuff going on here that you can write and talk about that can flow from you naturally because it's part of your life, and that brings the authenticity with it. And we have found, because we use a lot of social media with Imagine That, we have found that when we post lifestyle stuff, when we post a blog about a day we spent skiing instead of working in the office, we get tons more engagement on that stuff than we do if we talk about, here are 3 tips for doing social media better. We get way more engagement. People share it, talk about it, post it. We did this little 4-wheel drive trip back in the fall. I took a picture in front of my Jeep, and Barry, it was an awesome picture. Barry puts on we he said, come up with a caption for this picture. Somebody puts, kidnapping Santa. Yeah. And we got lots of engagement from that picture and a lot of people laughing and enjoying it and having fun with it. That's the kind of stuff people are looking for too. That's where your humanity comes out. And when they can see that you're not just the business person, but you're also got these other things going on that you're part of. Posting, be regular. Chew on this one for just a second. Okay, be regular. Okay, but don't post that stuff or what it produces. Post good content, but you want to be posting regular and consistently. Avoid blasts. Yeah. How often? It depends on the medium. With Facebook, daily.
Depends on how often.
Yeah.
Who you want to listen to. I've heard anywhere from every 2 hours to once a day. So.
Yeah. Barry does our social media and Imagine That. I'm gonna let you answer this question. How often? Talk about Twitter, Facebook, Google+.
For Imagine That, or for
just in general, how would you answer that question? How often should a person post?
I would say at least 3 times a day.
Well, no, I'm serious, because it used to be, the rule was don't send out a newsletter too often because people get irritated. They don't want to see that email, once a week or whatever. You're only supposed to send out a monthly newsletter or yada yada. But
yeah.
Okay, but it sounds like now we're moving more toward the more you post things, the better off you are.
If it's good content, and if it's good and it's relevant content, email's a little different.
Well, okay,
yeah.
I understand.
But in a social context, yeah.
Oh gosh, we all went out skiing today, or whatever, or we all went and took a Jeep trip, or
yeah.
but no, I'm trying to.
No, I'm tracking with you.
I mean, again, it depends on your audience, your customers. Depends on how much time you have, but you want to have that presence. Like Jeff said earlier, you want to be there. People can choose with social media what they read, what they look at, and what they want to see. Rather than an email, I mean, yes, they can choose, but they have to delete it and this and that.
Right.
And that's kind of like almost an invasion into their inbox. Social media, you're choosing, and it is establishing that credibility, that trust, that brand. So you want to be out there. Yes, you don't want to be posting 20, 30 times a day, because that may get a little overkill. But I would say, it really depends.
Especially when you think that only, a little over 1% is going to see your Facebook posts anyway. So unless you're paying for it, then Facebook will show more, right?
Right. Well, and that's why I'm asking, once a day, because I would say, what, you post once a week? But apparently you're saying, no, much more than that.
You want to build that trust, that recognition, that you want to build your brand, your identity. Even if they don't read it, like Jeff was saying earlier, they're seeing it.
They're seeing it.
There. Maybe they're just scanning it.
Right.
It's almost subliminal, if you will.
Right.
Really, but
exactly.
Yeah. And
if it's engaging content, then it's going to have a longer shelf life, and more people are going to see it. And so if you're doing that, regularly, be regular.
Yeah.
Regularly is.
Regularly.
Yeah, but it's all relative. You know, there's no real. Like I've said, I've read some people say you have to do it every 2 to 3 hours, or once a week, or once a day. Depends on who you are, what you want to do. I would say no less than once a day.
Yeah. The steady and consistent. You want fiber, yeah. Steady and consistent is what's important. You want to avoid the blast. Sometimes people they'll sit down and they'll just throw a bunch of stuff out at once, and then they'll disappear for weeks. And then they'll throw a bunch of stuff out at once. That's not a good strategy. You know, because they've forgotten who you are by the time you throw the next massive amount of stuff out there, and they'll forget you again. And that's just a hard way to do it anyway. So that we go back to kind of at the beginning of our discussion, we looked at some of the short-sightedness on the part of marketing pundits early on from the 1960s even through to 2013. I'm going to give you one more quote. This telephone has too many shortcomings to be seriously considered as a means of communication. The device is inherently of no value to us. Western Union internal memo dated 1876. Right? Hopefully, you've seen the value of online marketing and the importance of social media to your overall marketing plan, and we're not just simply dismissing it as, it's a fad, it's going to go away. It is not. It's here to stay. And so it's good for us, regardless of age, demographic, business, whatever, to learn how to use the tools and learn how to be part of the conversation, because the web is a social media sphere now. Bringing it all together, we looked at how social media has its place in the larger picture of online marketing. We saw that there are 4 things to consider when building your online marketing plan: content, communities, crowds, and consistency, being regular. Right? The benefits, by applying the principles we talked about today consistently, you can expect better brand recognition, better results in search, higher levels of trust and credibility on the part of your audience. You'll see more buzz about your business online, leading to repeat customers and brand evangelists. Ultimately, these things will impact your bottom line, right? Because it leads to customers. So that concludes our presentation for today. We normally would have a question and answer time at the end, but we did it all through the period, so thank you. Thank you for being here.